Hey, and welcome to TSC PRO, where we discuss all competitive Smash news. I'm Preacher Dude Rocks, and today I have with me
Nigomar,
Bro Olympic 67,
Mustard,
Solus,
and today's guest, Justin, the People's Challenger. What's up, Justin?
Put me in the cast, in the cast, in the cast, put me in the cast.
cast in the cast.
Woohoo!
Nico, why'd you ruin his singing?
Guys, I am now ready to die. That has fulfilled my life. But yeah, of course, we're glad to have the E3 People's Challenger with us. And we're essentially talking about, Justin, your experience at E3 and, your experience with the game. So why don't you go ahead and start off by telling us, how was E3 for you?
Probably the best, 3 days of my entire life. I got flown out to LA on Nintendo's dime, which I couldn't have afforded, so that's bonus number one. I got to stay up in a swank hotel, bonus two. Ooh. And bonus three was meeting some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life who had a love for Smash like I'd never seen, and it was just incredibly refreshing and great to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I bet. Can you tell us a little bit about the people you met? I know you got to see a lot of competitive Smash players. What was that like?
I met all of the 16 Invitational players, not at the Invitational, actually. I got invited by a guy named Rich King, who goes by Kitaro, who is really cool. He invited me to go to a party in one of their hotel suites after the night of the Invitational. And I showed up. I had no idea if Kitaro was actually connected to any of the pros. And he's just like, yeah, come on into this hotel room. And I'm like, oh, God, I probably shouldn't have done this. And, he opens the door. And there's, the 16 Invitational players. There's, Mewtwo King and Armada. And everybody's, there's somebody, hula hooping with a trash can on their head. D1 sitting on this, black giant statue of a foot.
Oh, my God.
There's CRTs set up with people playing 4-player Smash, 2-player Melee, everywhere around the hotel suite, and it was the best party I've ever been to in my entire life. I'll say that.
Initially, you're like, I don't know if this is safe, man.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I just got this guy's information off Facebook. I don't know if I can trust this. I'm in a strange city I've never been to.
Invited to a party.
I'm like, sure. I'm young. I can fight people.
So did you play against them?
Yeah, I did. I was really hesitant at first because I'm mostly a casual player, and so I didn't really think I would offer anything to them except for the entertainment of being a sandbag. But I got to play Armada and Niha and Dakota the Rapture and HBox and a lot of the other players. And I mean, they killed me. They were definitely not up to snuff. Some of them had been partying a little hard and they still destroyed me, so.
True.
Yeah.
Was it embarrassing being beat by a one-handed M2K? On the other hand, he's downing booze.
Basically. But one of the things I didn't know, I had met other pro players before, but I guess since I had never been in a tournament, I didn't realize you should bring your own controller. Yeah, so it was everybody was like, oh, I'll lend you mine, it's cool. Oh, I'll lend you mine, it's cool. And then some people would be like, ooh, does this guy not have a controller?
And then they threw you out the window.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mark
with the foot statue.
Player.
Cool.
So, did you watch any of them at the Invitational?
Yeah, I was in the crowd at the Invitational. I went back and I pinpointed where I am and the overhead crane shots. I'm a tiny little blob in the crowd. But one of the funniest things, I don't know if this was planned or I don't know if it was on Nintendo's part. I mean, I don't know how it could have been, but they put me sitting right in front of Armada. No, not Armada. No, it was Mewtwo King in the crowd because Mewtwo King wasn't in the Invitational, but he was in the crowd. Invitational, and he was sitting right behind me, and I go to take my seat and I see him and I'm like, is that him? There's no way that's him, right? And I turn around, I'm like, are you Mewtwo King? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, no way.
That's all.
Hey, now I have a question for you. When you actually played, did you play with your boxing gloves on? Because that's how true champions win, right?
There is footage
Yes,
of him.
I played with my boxing gloves on at every single match I played at E3.
See, well, that's like your automatic John for losing.
Yeah, I guess so. I played with them over my hands, so I just kind of strapped them onto my wrist.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw that in the video. I mean, that's pretty cool. It looks like a swaggy way to play.
I was gonna like cut holes for my like fingers, but it didn't work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still creative though.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to have the boxing gloves somehow, so I had to make it work.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Nico.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, like, how much time did you think you got to play the game overall?
Oh man, I dedicated most of my time at E3 to Smash, which is something because there were some amazing demos there. I would say 6 hours the first day, 3 hours the second day, and probably 3 hours the last day. So I guess 12 hours.
Oh wow, that's a lot of time.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
you know, I really love Smash, so I dedicated most of my time at E3 to Smash.
Now, was a lot of this just out at the booths, or did you get any like private experiences with the game in a separate room?
Unbelievably, I mean, when I got there, I was thinking I was gonna get nothing. Like, I was like, this hotel is gonna be crappy. Like, I'm just like a side thought to Nintendo. They're just like picking this random Instagram kid. They're not gonna give him anything. I had my expectations at the lowest possible hype level. But then they, like, the first day I got there, they had like a personal assistant, I guess, I don't know what you would say, like, bring me into a VIP area, and I got to stand in front of like a personal Wii U that had all of the demos from E3 on it, Hyrule Warriors, Splatoon, Smash, and just play it as long as I wanted to with my brother.
That's awesome.
What?
This was like a very dark room, shady. Where they
It was
have
like-
like
It
And
was
the
just
only
like
light was coming from the TV.
there was like a huge Splatoon, like, I don't know, gaming area with a giant advertisement for Smash bulletin, I guess, and then behind it was the VIP area that was like roped off with a bodyguard. So
yeah.
See, the way I imagine this, you go in a room and they say you can play it as long as you want, but once you do, you can never leave this room.
yeah. Actually, they told me if I left, I wouldn't be able to get back in because they need somebody to let me in again. So it's kind of like that.
That's weird.
Yeah, well, I imagine when you leave that room, you leave all rooms forever. That's Nintendo.
Forever.
Nintendo just disowns you as soon as you leave.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to know how does the game feel in relation to others? Like, what would you say?
I mean, I'm not, I'm a more casual player, but I would say it's closer to Brawl for sure, but it's still faster than Brawl, as most people expected, I'm sure. But I mean, it's still really fun. I'd say we've only seen the E3 build. Oh, and one of the best things about it was there were literally a Nintendo employee at every single booth who, at the end of each match, would say, okay, what are your impressions of the game? What do you think we can do better? And they would listen to casual players, they would listen to professional players, and they would write down specifically. There's one of the pros I was at the VIP booth said, listen up, you need to reduce the lag on aerials, like landing lag on aerials, because it's too much. And the guy like took out a notepad with like a little form on it that said things we need to fix, and he like got the time to get the terminology down like perfectly. So I think they really were listening to what people wanted.
That's
Thanks,
crazy.
But,
Go ahead, yeah.
but did they get a lot of requests for Goku and Shrek and Ridley?
No, nobody in the E3 crowd was looking for him. So
Well, all I was gonna say is that I don't want to spend too much time saying about my experience, but yeah, I mean, at Best Buy, at least the one I attended to, I mean, they had the same thing, you know. So I imagine in all the Smash Fest locations, they had like reps there that were like they would ask you like several different things like that, and they would jot down who, like at least where I was, they jotted down who I played as, or like,
Right.
things
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Not
Yeah.
in mine, but
Oh, okay.
Wasn't it
Well-
mine either.
So you had 12 hours to play the game, lots of time. What characters did you try out, and how did you like them?
I tried out all of the newcomers. Even with the amount of time that I had, I spent all of it pretty much on the newcomers. I should have spent some time on the veterans, but I was just so hyped for the newcomers.
Yeah.
I did, all the newcomers, Little Mac, Rosaluma, and some of them were split across the 3DS and the Wii U version.
Right.
But I mean, Mac is my main. Smash.
Smash is your game.
Smash is the game, Mac is my main. Living the smash like every day. Don't need to grapple, I'm off the chain. Put me in the game, JL's the name. In the game, in the game, in the game. Put me in the game, put me in the game.
I spent the most time with Mac because I was kind of trying to prepare to fight Zero in PPMD. And he was definitely the most fun. He might not have been the best, but he was definitely the most fun.
Mac?
Yeah, Mac.
Okay.
I mean, there's no other move for me in the history of Smash. Falcon Punch, Jigglypuff's Rest, nothing is as satisfying for me as building up the KO meter and connecting with the one-hit KO punch.
Yeah.
True. So who would you say out of all the newcomers, of course, this doesn't have to be a technical guess or anything, but who would you say you think, estimating, would be the best or has the most potential to be the best in very skilled players?
I would venture to say Rosalina and Luma, honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, just from the beginning touches that we got of the game at E3, the people who seemed to be pulling off the most combos and the most wins were Rosalina and Luma, just because of you'd get trapped in between the two of them. Luma would hit you towards Rosalina. Rosalina would spike you down, and I don't know. I mean, the heavier characters seem to have gotten better, but Rosalina and Luma seem to be pretty top for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Rosalina the only character that could take a fully charged Little Mac punch and survive?
It depended on how much damage you had. Honestly, if somebody had 0 damage and I one-hit KO punched them, it most of the time I don't think would kill them from nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so it's nice to see that that's balanced.
Yeah, it's not
KO butt.
it's not an automatic KO, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about a really light characters like Kirby? Is it possible, or
is it possible
on just lighter characters? Do you remember any time when you were able to KO them, at almost 0 or 10%?
I'd say 30% was probably the magic number for guaranteed KO.
Okay.
Which, you go in, you get a few jabs in, and then you can pull off the one-hit KO. It's fairly simple to get it in.
Yeah. Just from watching a Little Mac's trailer, it looked like it might be an easy move to connect with.
Honestly, one of the things that confused me the most about playing with Little Mac, and I don't know if this was a bug or something, or maybe that's just how it is, I don't know, but when you use the one-hit KO, if you miss, it doesn't whiff with the B. In the demo, it just sort of took the KO away and you never knew that you had used it.
Oh yeah.
If I had built up the KO and I pressed B and I didn't connect it with somebody, it didn't show me doing a punch, it just showed Mac doing whatever he was already doing.
Oh really? So it didn't even bring up the animation?
No, it did not, which was very confusing because I was like, oh, did I not use it? And I mean, I talked to a few other people who'd been playing there and they're like, yeah, it kind of seems like you don't even know if you missed.
Yeah, that...
I can just imagine Little Mac, he's maybe later.
Yeah, that probably needs to be changed. But speaking about changes, are there any that you felt like they would need to implement now after playing the demo?
Yeah, I guess I would say more hit stun and yeah, I mean more hit stun and probably I would say be able to, I know the technical term is dash dance, but turn around quicker, because if I'm running one way and then I turn around, I want to be able to turn and not just slide,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, I know pivot grabs are kind of a advanced technique that people threw in for Brawl, but I don't know. It kind of feels like a less terrible version of tripping when I can't turn around like I want to.
Yeah. Well, also, Did you get to play Samus at all?
No, I did not try Samus.
Yeah, because I remember Sakurai saying that she was, you know, the quote-unquote best character, but I still don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Hungry Box after the Invitational that night at the hotel, and I was like, do you really think Samus is going to be the best character? And he's like, no, they have no idea what they're talking about. Their playtesters are awful.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. Sakurai's just full of it. Maybe he meant she was broken, as in like when people were playing as her, it'd break the game, and it was mistranslated.
Literally broken.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, are you excited for any of the rumored characters from the recent leak?
I guess I would probably be the most excited for Bowser Jr. I have not played Xenoblade, so I know Shulk was a largely requested character, but he doesn't hold that much of significance to me. I didn't play Chorus.
That's kind of how I was. That's kind of how I was with Shulk for a little while, and then I'm like, you know what? Since I don't really know anything about him, I need to buy Xenoblade. And playing through that game, spending 2 weeks marathoning that game, that really changed my mind. So if you haven't played the game, highly recommend it.
I was considering it. I was considering grabbing Fire Emblem Awakening and Xenoblade just to appreciate the characters more.
True.
Yeah, both of those are really
Get
good
it.
games.
Do it.
Yeah. I was recommended essentially Awakening by these peeps, and I loved it, so I'd do the same. One question before we start wrapping up. I just wanted to ask, like, having this whole experience at E3 and, you know, meeting some of these competitive Smash players, does this motivate you to maybe get involved competitively for this 4th Smash iteration?
Actually, definitely, yes. Before the Invitational, when I found out that I had won the competition, I was like so psyched. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like I'm going to E3. And then I was like, oh no, I have to play somebody who's on a completely other level for me. I'm going to get destroyed. And I posted on a few message boards, and it turns out my brother's friend is actually pretty decently involved in the Georgia Project M, or no, not Project M, sorry, just Melee scene as a professional player.
Okay.
So he started teaching me a little bit about the Melee scene and some advanced tech. So he said I should join the competitive scene, and I had started thinking about it since then. And meeting all the professional players and how nice they were and how welcoming they were, it really was kind of a game changer, literally. I mean, everybody at the Invitational, all of the pros were just so welcoming. They're like, man, we'll fly you out to New York, like come to Apex. And it was crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like, I mean, I haven't really been into the competitive scene before, but Smash 4 looks great, and I think this is my time. So I'm with you there.
So am I.
So are there any final questions from any of the other members? Anything about being in the game, about Mac being his main?
Putting me in the game.
Yes.
I have a small story that I thought I might tell.
Oh, okay. Yay, story time!
Sure.
I know you guys made videos too, and everybody was waiting for the reveal of who won the video contest on Instagram, because they posted, I want to say on like a Monday or whatever, saying we're going to reveal tomorrow who the winner is. And I was so hyped. I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder who the winner's going to be. I like stayed up. I was waiting for it. And then the whole day went by and they didn't say anything. And then another day went by and they still didn't say anything. And everybody was like, what are they doing? Why haven't they announced the winner? Like, certainly they told him, and maybe there's just like a non-disclosure agreement. And I was like, man, I guess they told him and I didn't win. But I was just waiting with everybody else just to finally see who they announced. And I think it was like the 3rd day, and I got a call on my cell phone. I was just chilling in my room, and it said LA. And I was like, I don't know anybody in LA. And I answered the phone, and I was like, hello? And the guy on the other end was like, yes, hello, is this Justin Lennox? And I was like, yeah. And he said, did you recently enter a Smash Brothers Instagram video contest? And I said, yeah. And he said, I'm going to need you to check your Instagram right now. And I went onto my Instagram and I was like, okay, there's nothing here. And he said, have you checked your messages? And I was like, there are no messages on Instagram.
Oh, the direct messages.
He said, yeah, there's Instagram direct. And I go into my messages, and 2 days ago, they had sent me a message. And
Oh, no.
they were like, you're going to need to respond to this within the next 24 hours. And I was like, oh my god, I almost missed it by like 20 minutes.
Oh, dude. Did that like totally just like scare you shitless?
It did. I flipped out. I was like, how did you get my number? And he was like, we went through some social media circles to find you. I was like, oh my god.
Oh god.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That is
Just imagine if you hadn't checked.
I
We
was
would
like,
be
That
talking
was
to you
so
today.
cool of them.
I was like an hour away from like them going on to the next person and picking somebody else, and I was like, it was like the chance of a lifetime, honestly.
That's great. Wow. Yeah, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we like it when you do that. Also follow us on Twitter at SmashCastTweets. Justin, why don't you give us your Twitter if you have any, or an Instagram, I guess, obviously, since you do.
I'll follow you.
Don't have a Twitter. I have an Instagram. It's Justin Anthony Lennox.
Okay, so if
Yes.
you're interested in following the dude who's in the game, there you go. And yes.
Yep. Hey, but we totally like to thank Justin for being on the cast.
Oh
It
yeah.
was great having you.
yeah, it was a
Yeah, it was
a
great
blast.
talking. I love Smash and I love talking about it. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, no problem. I think that's it. I think we're off. See ya.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys.
Woo! That was awesome.
Oh, an hour long. What a nice call.